Welcome to the Porn Reboot podcast, where you get practical tips to gaining control over your porn or sex addiction. We help ambitious men end their out-of-control sexual behavior with pornography, sex, and masturbation so that you can maximize your life, perform at your potential, and remain in control in the driver's seat, which is where you have to be in order to gain or maintain the success you want in life. I'm your host, J.K. Amazi, certified sex and porn addiction recovery coach. Welcome to the episode. I can't quit pornography. I just can't change. I don't think I can change. I've lived with this for so long. I think this is really important to me. I can't imagine a life without pornography, without these beautiful women, without what sex brings me. It would be such an empty life. If you can relate to these thoughts, then you have a faulty core belief, and that is manifesting itself in the self-sabotaging statement that I can't change. Now, in the previous episode, I talked about one powerful self-sabotaging statement that I don't want to change. I don't think I really want to change. If I wanted to change, then I would have done something about it. That's a very powerful one. And as a quick reminder, faulty core beliefs are assumptions and beliefs that we have about ourselves, other people, and our environment. They usually start in childhood, and over the years, we accumulate evidence to back them up to show that they are real. So when it comes to that core statement of, I can't change, that is from a faulty core belief. And you have gathered so much evidence that when you get to a certain point, you now have all the proof throughout your life, year after year after year, that you cannot change. Unfortunately, that's going to keep you stuck, because if you're engaging in a behavior that is self-destructive, all you have internally is irrefutable proof that you cannot change. Do you see how dangerous this is? So where does this come from? Let's talk about the history of this. When it comes to competence, there's competence, commitment, and comparison. Competence is, I'll give you an example. This is when you were growing up and somebody said that you weren't good enough or implied that you weren't good enough. Maybe you lived in a household where there were very high standards for academics and you came back with a B, and your dad or mom said, why did you come back with a B? Why didn't you come back with an A? Is there something about the other students that's better than you? Are you not smart? Did you not have tuition? Did you not go to the same school? Did you not take the same classes? And you can easily internalize that. In my case, I wasn't really good at math. And when I say I wasn't good at math, it doesn't mean that it was impossible for me to do it. It means that I struggled with it because I did have a disability with it. Unfortunately, my parents did not understand that. They were both quite good at math, and they were very frustrated that I was struggling with this and I perhaps needed a different way to learn about math. But they kept implying, yelling at me, sighing when my results came in, that I was not good at math. And eventually, this issue that I had in math, which was a real thing, but could have been taken care of, eventually morphed into a I'll never be good at math belief. So don't get me wrong. There was the underlying issue with me struggling to understand math, but there were specialized ways of working with children around that. I didn't get the chance, and you may not have gotten the chance with something in your life because somebody implied that you were not competent, which means I am going to fail because I'm not good at something. I always fail because I am incompetent. The second one is commitment. Commitment is I'm going to give up because that is what I do all the time. I never complete something. Now, my definition of commitment is doing the thing you said you were going to do long after the emotion when you initially agreed to do it has passed. And sometimes as a child growing up, you say one thing, but you don't follow through. Maybe you're ADD, maybe you're ADHD, maybe you're just a kid. And you got punished for not doing those things. You didn't clean your room. You never clean your room. Have you cleaned your room? You can't have dinner until you've cleaned the room. Have you put that away? You haven't put that away. And eventually that is the way you are seen. And the tut-tuts and the sighs and the shaking the head like that boy, yeah, he hasn't done it. And as you grow up, you are bypassed because people don't think you have commitment. No, we're not going to enroll you in that class. No, you don't get that because you never followed through on that. Remember the last time I got you that thing? You did not do it. You did not finish it. And you internalize that. Eventually, it ends up becoming a faulty core belief that you are a person who does not finish things that you start. Only because you said you wanted to be in the Boy Scouts and then 2 months later you decided you wanted to do something else and your parents got upset at you. I want you to first of all understand, if you're dealing with this, that it is not your fault. As a child, it was an adult's responsibility to demonstrate commitment to you. Children are not supposed to demonstrate commitment. They are supposed to be taught commitment. So please, I want you to remember this as we work through this. And if you are in our program, I will always support you and remind you of the things that were never your fault. Because when they began in your life, they were not your responsibility. Sometimes that commitment part manifests itself as a statement of, if I wanted it enough, or if I wanted to enough, I would have done it. And I remember for many years with things like math, I would tell myself, if I wanted it enough, if I truly wanted to learn math, if I was really serious about it, I would have done it. But, it's easier to just tell yourself, you know what, I don't really want to. And sometimes that's something that we carry. Next, we have comparison. And the end result of comparison would be that we become the person that's different because we don't do what other people do. So an example of this, I spoke about this in the previous episode. You believe you're a special case. I have clients who come in who have this core belief that comes from a place of childhood comparison. And they say things like, it's not that I don't think your program will work for me, JK. It's not that I don't think that approach will not work for me. It's just that I'm different. I'm not as motivated as other people, or I'm different because of my background, or I'm different because I'm not a high performer, or I'm different because it doesn't matter. I always hear some sort of excuse, but it comes from a faulty core belief. When you were growing up, if you ever had somebody say, why can't you be like your brother? Why can't you be like your sister? Why can't you be like the kid across the road? Over and over again, reinforced, it becomes, well, there's something different about me. I don't do things like other people. Other people apparently have a way of doing things, but I'm special. And sometimes that can be negative, and sometimes that can be delusional, where you think you're special in a good way, when in reality you aren't. I've said that many artists and entrepreneurs grew up in environments where they were compared to other people and they were made to feel different. And in a positive way, it led to their success and led to them thinking in a different way, going out on their own, starting businesses, going into music, being pretty unique. However, that sense of difference continues in all aspects of their life. And the negative part of it is that sometimes it makes you doubt that certain things will work for you because you constantly find proof that you are different. Remember, one of the things about faulty core beliefs is that we collect proof that those beliefs are true till we get to a point where we are. What I have noticed is that happens for people at different stages in their life. But when men start entering their 30s and their 40s, it is when they reach the zenith of that stuckness. So much proof has been gathered that this is who I am, that it is almost heresy to hear otherwise. So first of all, you begin to doubt that anything is going to work for you because you've gathered so much proof that you're different. And sometimes you don't even bother to put in the work because you already, quote unquote, know that it's going to be different. I know this is not going to work. I know I've been there before. I've done it. These things don't work for me. But you don't realize that this comes from that core belief of comparison. So you begin to use that as a get out of jail free card. Oh, why won't you do that? It won't work for me. I'm a little bit different. And this is what leads to a deeply unhappy life for many men. So let's talk about how to overcome it. The way you overcome it is, first of all, I want you to list it out and I want you to challenge it. Why did your family say something like, why can't you be like your brother or your sister or your cousin? Why did they truly say it? I don't know what the reason could be, but as an adult, you now have the capacity to go back and actually think about it. And I want you to think about it objectively, not emotionally, like, oh, my parents said that. No, your parents were adults too. They were rational human beings for the most part. There is a reason why they said that, and they were probably misguided. Let's use this as an example. You might go back and realize that your older sibling, who you were constantly compared to, was born at a time where there were no other siblings. That was the first and only sibling. And it wasn't so stressful for your parents. But let's say you're the third or the fourth child. And by that point in time, your parents were, yes, more experienced as parents, but also a lot more stressed. And they had taught everything to your older siblings. So they would sometimes have these gaps where they were like, I don't understand why you don't know these things. But they just were stressed, they were overwhelmed, and they forgot the amount of patience it took and years it took to teach your older sibling certain skills. They might also not realize that they gave a lot of attention because there was no other sibling to focus on to that first child. And as you come to think about it, you're like, it wasn't that there was anything wrong with me. It's just that my parents didn't recognize that they didn't have all that attention for me and they were frustrated. I'm not saying that this is the case. I'm just giving you an example. Whatever that might be, I want you to reframe it. What is the opposite of something like, in my case, I had teachers really tell me, like, you must be stupid. Something must be wrong with you. They actually put me in the slow learners. They had a slow track in school, and I was put in the slow track for students who were slower to grasp things. And I would take the statement that I gave myself, which is, JK, you're stupid. JK, you're slow. I would put that out there. Now, what is the opposite of you are stupid? Well, that you are intelligent. You are brilliant. And then you're going to write out examples you're going to have to make a case against this belief. So I began to make a case against it because at that point in time, I'd built a large sales organization. Now, mind you, sales is something, nobody goes into sales like planning to go into sales. You go into sales, and this was 20 years ago, you go into sales because there's nothing else for you to do. Because you have failed or you are not able to succeed at many other things, so you go into sales. So I went into this very challenging thing and I built a large organization. So I couldn't do that if I was stupid. People would not follow me if I was a stupid person. I might not have been an engineer. I might not have done all these things, but I was certainly capable of doing this. And I found example after example after an example. I want you to do the same. I want you to make a case against that faulty core belief. Number one, challenge it. Why does this statement exist? Why was this said to me or put on me during my childhood? Then I want you to reframe it. What is the opposite of the main statement that comes out of that core belief? And then I want you to make a case, a strong case, preferably a written case, against that belief. I really appreciate you taking the time to listen to this. If you have any feedback about this, feel free to email me. I do respond to my emails, especially if in the subject line you put podcast. If you have thoughts about this, if you have questions, happy to respond to them. It does take me a couple of weeks to get back to podcast emails. And if you are ready to start working on your core beliefs, if you're ready to start identifying them and challenging them and working on them, whether you want to do so in the privacy of our check-ins with coaches or our one-on-one sessions, or if you would like it to do it in a group setting with other clients, then go ahead and schedule a call using the link in the description below the podcast episode. We do this every week, working through your faulty core beliefs in our different sessions. I'm JK, your brother in this struggle. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Porn Reboot podcast. I'll speak to you later on in the week. If you found this episode helpful, here are 4 ways I can help you with your out-of-control sexual behavior for free. The first way is to grab a free copy of my book, Confessions of a Porn Addict, 7 Secrets of Porn-Free Men at elevatedrecovery.org, or visit the link in the description below this episode. The second way is, if you're not sure where to start, but you'd like to learn more about my team and I, if you'd like to spend time with like-minded professionals and business owners who are controlling their behavior, then join our free and confidential group, the Porn Reboot group on Facebook. There's a link to join in the description below this episode. The third way is if you need help right now because you have a burning issue, your behavior with pornography is hurting you mentally or emotionally, you're about to lose your relationship, you want to live up to your potential, be an authentic man, and free yourself from shame, guilt, and underachieving, then click on the link in the description below this episode that says free coaching call. And the fourth way is to leave us a 5-star review if you enjoy this podcast, so that we can reach more men who are struggling in silence and bring back the lessons we learn from coaching them to freedom.